much. So good afternoon. My name is Carla Reis. I'm going from IPS, Portugal. I'm going to present a work that we have been developing with citizens who are gardeners in urban vegetable gardens in Lisbon, in the area of biomonitoring. I'm sorry. I don't know. This is not. Oh, sorry. So Lisbon has 22 urban vegetable gardens nowadays. It's a huge movement, a citizen movement that began with Lisbon European Green Capital 2020. And because urban vegetable gardens have several advantages, they allow people to grow their own vegetables. So it has socio-economic advantages, but also environmental advantages because it contributes to the renaturalization of the urban environment. Lisbon now has around 10 acres of urban vegetable gardens. But we understood there was some worries in the citizens about the food safety of those vegetables that are grown in urban vegetable gardens, because in most of the cases, urban vegetable gardens are in locations very near high traffic lanes. So those vegetables can be by heavy metals and other contaminants. So it's a public health matter, of course, and talking with people, we understood there was that citizens' concern, and we decided to begin this biomonitorization using lettuces, because from literature we know that lettuces are good biomonitors, namely of metals, heavy metals, okay? So our aim was to determine microplastics and trace metals, namely heavy metals, in lettuces grown in these urban vegetable gardens, to assess the citizens' exposure through the dietary intake. So we decided to compare those lettuces grown in urban vegetable gardens with a rural area in the Midland, Portugal, and also with commercial lettuces. And we have monitored 7 urban vegetable gardens in Lisbon. So the project was presented to citizens, because this is a work for citizens that has to be done with citizens, because the results are for them. They need to know if their vegetables are good enough are good to be eaten. The main objective was to address their concerns. And so we presented publicly our idea with the help of Juntas de Freguesia, the municipality, and through social media, Facebook, Instagram, and so on, to have participants from the community. So we had a huge response from gardeners, urban gardeners, and then we started to have their collaboration in collecting the samples of the lettuces, Lactuca sativa. We collected 2 kinds of cultivars, smooth leaf and beaded leaf lettuce. And then in the lab, of course, we have processed the samples by washing, freeze drying, milling into powder, and pelletizing for chemical analysis. Then microplastic analysis was performed in University of Siena, Italy, and elemental analysis was performed in Portugal, in Lisbon, in Instituto Superior Técnico by PIX, proton-induced X-ray emission, and also by ICP. So our strategy was to sort out the leaves, inner leaves and outer leaves, to separate them, wash some of them, the others weren't washed, and we analyzed all of them, always in triplicates. So we also sampled the roots of the lettuces and the respective soils, rhizosphere soils. So we had around 159 samples analyzed. Concerning microplastics, we found lots of microplastics in lettuces indeed. We have these images of fibers that we found in the lettuces leaves. They were 90% fibers and the rest were fragments of fibers. But really it's a little bit worrying because microplastics are really everywhere. Even in commercial lettuces, we found microplastics around 10.7 microplastic particles per gram. Also in rural samples, a little bit more, and especially in urban samples, around 18.6 microplastic particles per gram. Of course, there is variation according to the location of the urban vegetable garden, but especially in U3, that is olivais, for those who know Lisbon, U4 complete, and U5 telheiras, where the highest levels of around 20 microplastic particles per gram were the highest, especially U5 is 300 meters from Segunda Circular, for those who know Lisbon, and U4 complete is next to Viaduto Duarte Pacheco. It's also a very high traffic lane, so it reflects in the lettuces. We have also determined the metals, around 23 elements, and of course, we are more interested in those that can have an impact on health. It's the case of lead. And we found that there were no samples above the maximum level of lead or cadmium that is regulated in the European Union. But in the case of chromium, there were some exceedances. And in the case of zinc also, there were some exceedances in some urban vegetable gardens. So we also studied the soils, the respective soils, for determination of the enrichment factor, considering the Lisbon geochemical background. And we found basically there is no contamination of the soils. So zinc and lead are minimal enrichment, and cadmium minimum to moderate enrichment. Okay, so there is no concern about the soils also. So this was a study that only was possible with the citizens. Why? Because, of course, we had to have their participation and their collaboration in collecting the samples. They allowed us to go to their plots collecting the samples, but not only that, because we had to control all the agricultural practices. We had to know if they fertilized, how was the watering, if they practiced mulching, which is a very common practice in urban gardens. So we had to control certain variables that was only possible with the collaboration of the gardeners, of course. And the results are for them, of course. So we have informed the citizens about the results in their lettuces. Okay. This work is published in terms of microplastics, in terms of metals. It will be published soon. And I thank you very much for your attention.